great to be back, and it's great to have so many interesting people here today. Thank you very much for sharing your attention. If we have time at the end, if people aren't fading out, we'll do announcements at the end. If you have jobs, hackathons, anything, any news you might want to say, we'll do that at the end. And here is our mission statement, and I just want to reiterate that each time. We're here to attract the diverse. I would maybe open this up wider than Colorado now, because I think it should be wider than just Colorado, but specifically Colorado is a great place for blockchain. So we're trying to attract the voice and to connect with us and build things on these platforms. And that's Shill Colorado from Kevin Owocki coined that one. So I go along with that. Decentralize Colorado on Twitter.
First of all, before I introduce myself, I guess I apparently put this slide first. I'd like to talk about, ETH Denver, at least say how freaking cool it was. Just awesome. Thanks to everybody help put that on. I hacked with a buddy, Harrison Stahl. You can find his Twitter there. It's kind of funny. He didn't actually have enough letters to write, not enough entropy, but that's the joke, I guess. The idea was a decentralized database protected by proof of work. I worked on a Rust version, and he worked on a Python version. Afterwards, I helped him put together a CLI client. And he's currently working hard on refining the idea further. Definitely reach out to him if you want to know more. Also, here are the two repos on Git that of the work that we did. Also, I'm really terrible at like off the cuff stuff, so I'm probably going to be reading most of this. So also, wow, here's cool. Here's two photos of the two of us talking. It was really cool. I didn't get. Neither of us got really very much sleep at all for like about 24 hours before this happened. Yeah. So Harrison got maybe about 30 minutes of sleep, whereas so he did most of the talking. And if you look up the video, but it's about 2 hours in to the video that was posted for the ETH Denver winners. So if you want to look that up, that's cool. So moving on though, I'd like to talk about something that I've been working on. Something a little bit not quite build on the meetup there, but I took Will's advice as of 5 minutes ago. And so I'd just like to talk about Freeweb. So this is a protocol for the Freeweb, taking the money out of running the web. First of all, okay, apparently I put this slide here. Cool. So I'm a builder, web application developer by trade. I'm a full stack web developer, so styles, front end, back end, APIs, microservices, servers and serverless, JavaScript, TypeScript, Rust, WebAssembly, you name it, as well as decentralized infrastructure, security and databases. In addition, blockchain and dApps. Also, I happen to be an entrepreneur and activist, and here's my cat. People might have seen this slide before, but I just recycled it because my cat is incredibly cute and cuddly and also cute. So here's the rationale for a free web. Most of the web is not free of ads, data tracking, or a profit motive. Why is the current web not free? A few observations. Infrastructure costs money to run. TCP/IP, DNS, capital expenditures of the purchasing all those things, the hardware, all that stuff. Software costs money to develop, the operational expenditures, just salaries and all sorts of stuff, and services. Corporations are required to make money for their shareholders. That's a big one, Corporations a bit of a wealth concentration mechanism. Might be a little controversial, but it's what it is. Similarly, decentralized apps also cost money. Who pays for the infrastructure? The user with gas fees? The app developer? That's not much different than cloud, Not really appealing to either one, to be honest. It's a bit of a barrier to entry, to be honest. And of course, consensus. And Infura, if you really think about it, they're the ones who are really subsidizing the cost of running dApps. All the GET requests not every one of them. You can still run your own ETH node, but a lot of the defaults to running Web3 apps is are are using their own infrastructure, and so including MetaMask. So the solution: we need to take the money out of running the web. That's I think the most sensible solution, ideally. So why aren't more people using dApps? Like that's a big question, right? Like everybody's asking that. Well, they cost money. That's probably the number one reason. There's probably others, like people say UX, wallets and identity and all that stuff. But like, come on, a lot of first of all, cryptocurrency is it's all about money. Like, I mean, it's currency. It has it in the name, So yeah, if you want to have like powerful stuff, don't get me wrong, but like not everybody wants their apps to be so intrinsically tied to money. There's, in fact, people jumping through hoops just to get, their gas fees paid for their users, for example. So who runs Freeweb? Who runs the Freeweb? Like the users do via Chrome extension. Not just Chrome, there's a lot of other APIs and browsers out there that will run run the Chrome API. You probably find your browser there. If you don't see it there, like raise your hand maybe. Stores your data on your computers, not on servers. This Chrome extension, it manages your keys. So for your user keys and site keys, if you go offline, your data does too. That's kind of a feature, to be honest, ownership over your own data. Obviously, people could maybe copy your data, but then that would be on them. That would be their copied data. And so real-time peer-to-peer communication, that's cool. The Freeweb extension gets users' computers talking to each other. That's basically what that means. The Freeweb Foundation, well, there isn't one. That's organizational centralization. This is free. What can you do with Freeweb? Proof of concept is still under development. Soon, I swear, I have something soon. There's lots of code, trust me. You'll be able to make keys for yourself and keys for sites. The site could be yours or someone else's. The site is addressed by public key. So imagine you go to a site, you want to snapshot it, and you'll be given a public key of basically a snapshot that's sanitized of the web pages that you might snapshot, and it'll clean up the scripts and not have any scripts on there, and it'll save it to your computer. And then, and that's just, the proof of concept. Then your computer can share it to others. You're introduced to other peers using a signaling star server. And that's pretty much the only point of centralization I should note. I will be the first to acknowledge the legit privacy concerns over WebRTC. Do not do illegal things with this, or you'll likely be caught by the cops, ACAB. Navigate to and share links to the free .free TLD. Yeah, that's good stuff. So it's I don't think there's an actual .free TLD, but if there is, we'll be basically proxying this. Any .free requests will go to the extension. They'll be caught there, and that's stuff that currently works. And soon there will be an API for writing more complex web apps. I guess I put this here. Thank you for watching this. I'm sure you have lots of questions. Here's my cat Spirit. Before we go into the questions, I just want to also show you my Q&A FAQ page. Have you thought, people I'm sure are have you heard of or thought of this? It's likely, I've been working on this for a little while. People who know me probably know of me through ArcJet. This is basically just the 5th revision of that. I've been working on ArcJet for about almost 2 years now. Yeah, it's all about making the web free. And yeah, I mean, will people install a Chrome extension just to browse the web? Likely, people install ad blockers, password managers, and using bookmarks, and that's very common. And the thing about that is this kind of does a lot of that, if not all of it. It's also let's see here, it's like these other things, and but in particular, Freeweb is kind of a homage to Freenet, because it really, Freenet is kind of the pioneer of a lot of these ideas, but this is supposed to be a bit more user friendly, and so it's for the web. It's just a Chrome extension. Anyway, I'm opening up the floor. Anybody got any questions? No.
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
So is this like on TCP IP, or is it like something totally new?
Let's see here. Let me stop sharing. So it's it's over TCP. WebRTC works over the TCP protocol, but not quite the HTTP protocol. So it's its own protocol. It's not quite like WebSockets, but you basically have it's like another peer-to-peer protocol that operates over TCP and UDP, depending on what you want, how you configure it. It'll basically, the signaling star server works with libp2p, and so it'll technically it'll do net hole punching for you by reaching out to. I'm just going to run it on let's see here, foundation.free. Which is the Freeweb Foundation kind of, but it's basically the only point of centralization is kind of the joke is the signaling star, and everything after that is going to be fully responded to by the peers.
How do you
Oh, and by the way, the signaling star. By the way, signaling star works. It's basically like a tracker, like a BitTorrent tracker, so it keeps track of the peers too. So that's why it's not quite private. So that's how peer introductions are made.
All right, I just have one more. So like, I've got my internet right here from Comcast, and that's what I pay, whatever I pay per month to have that. Is this going to solve that problem, like that I don't have to pay Comcast anymore, or is this still going to be?
This would be really useful for working with like wireless mesh networks like Skywire and all that stuff.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Really useful for like setting up ad hoc networks, but as long as it does the net hold punching correctly. However, it's not. I'm not here to solve like all protocol problems. Just trying to like carve out at least a point where I think there's some low hanging fruit for innovation, and I think this might be a viable solution for that.
Cool. Thank you. Great presentation.
Thank you, man.
Hand it over to our next speaker, which is Marion.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Hold on one tiny second because I want to open my notes. I don't want to be totally in the dark, which I am most of the time. Okay, so formally I'm saying hi, and thank you, Will, and Decentralize Colorado for the opportunity to present an overview of my potential project, which I'm still in the very early stages of trying to understand exactly will the blockchain platform and its many tentacles bring a solution that's both economically feasible and viable to bring this project forth, obviously. So a little bit about me. My name is Marion Murphy, and I live in Boulder, Colorado, and I'm very new to the Boulder blockchain cryptocurrency ecosystem. But I have to tell you, I've never felt so welcome, especially given that I'm very different from most of the people that attend the meetings, whose brilliance clearly overshadows mine. But it's fascinating, and it's also very inspiring to see so much passion, because that's something that I feel is missing a lot these days, in so many things that we do. I also want to, so the goal of let me just say a little bit about my project. So there is a story that has been being written for the last 5 years. It's a conversation between two people who are very bonded, and the conversation is about love, and it is mundane, it is explicit, and it is very esoteric. It sort of covers pretty much everything you could think about the subject of love. And it's all written on the phone in the form of text in this conversation between these two people. And it's about 5 years worth of data that includes text, video, images, you know, who knows, audio files. I mean, there might be more things that will enter. And obviously to do this in print form would be, as a book, would be prohibitive. I would never do it for the loss of all the trees. But furthermore, digitally, it just has so much more possibilities. And fundamental to that is, this story is an everyman story, even though it's very particular to two people. And the idea of it is to present it as everyman's story, to basically help us understand how we can transcend the obstacles to harmony, particularly between masculine and feminine energies. We're way out of balance here, and it reflects everywhere we look. We're out of balance with nature. We're out of balance with ourselves, with each other. And so this is kind of a how-to book in a very concrete way, modern way, because it's right now, historically and personally. The moment is now, and it's all true. And there's a lot of people who have participated in the story. And so the story, as I say, has a lot of little stories off of it, which I think is important to remember. So it probably, not probably, it does need a very robust platform to be able to handle all that data, make it functionally really attractive to engage, and then also to be creative. And that's kind of what brings me to Bitcoin, the Bitcoin community, and also just blockchain, because it is attempting to be revolutionary. And I pray every day it doesn't get co-opted, like so many things have been. It's the same way I feel about my book. I want it to be out there, but at the same time, I am concerned about the viability of putting it out there. Some of that concern is due to controversial subject matter, and also the fact that there will be a lot of resistance to some of the messages, as there have been for centuries. So, you know, those are all kinds of overarching concerns. Then, of course, it's the whole thing about all the functionality, and is the blockchain mature enough to allow that to happen? So where I am in the project is, it's obviously all been written. It will not be edited except for cleaning up some of the language and the data integrity. It's formatted in the ways by date, by month. So it's, you know, it's well organized. It's almost ready to upload somewhere, but I don't really have anywhere to upload it. What I really need to do now is sit down, and I have some resources to pay for that, for some people who might be interested in this type of project, which doesn't necessarily exclude cryptocurrency later on in the, you know, ethos of it as it expands. But initially, it's just to get the message out there and let it stand on its own and be accessible without consequences. I guess that's the best way I can say it overarchingly. I don't know. I want to give the title of the book, because I'm honoring Will, who started laughing when I said it to him. So the title of the book is also the title of the project. This way you can't forget it. How to Have Your Man-Woman Cake and Eat It Too. A love story whose subject matter is love, tantric sex as healing, and conscious death. So I'm sure it's going to attract a lot of women, which I think is an important component in the blockchain community. Granted, it would take a lot of us a lot of effort to catch up to you guys, but maybe there's a way you could bring it down a notch, and we could bring it up a notch, and we could expand the conversation with adding the receptive energy, not just the creative energy. Anyway, that's about it. Am I out of time? Does anyone have any questions? I'm sorry I'm being vague. I do want to say I have resources, i.e. to pay someone whose, you know, skill set evolves around creating the requirements, such that the requirements document overview such that a programmer could give feedback or developer, well, we can do this. No, we can't do this. We can, have you thought of this, etc. I'm not sure how long that would take. I do have IT experience for 25 years in very, very more simple applications, but I built a ton of them. So I do understand the importance of UI design and just in general functionality for the person who must navigate the project, whatever, publication.
Yeah, can I jump in? There was a couple good questions in the chat, which I want to remind people that I'm basically like live chatting in the chat, all my notes. So if you want to like join in there, there's a lot of stuff going on there too. Cass, do you want to say what you found? Because I think that's a great question, what you put in the chat about that site. Do you want to say it verbally, or I'll steal your idea? Okay.
Oh, are you asking me? I'm sorry.
No, yeah, there's a site that in the chat, this other person who doesn't have a mic said, publica.com, which is something about tell your story. Join Publica community and be the first to receive, or something about an ICO for book platforms.
Okay, well, great.
ICO platform for books. I'll put it.
Absolutely. Well, if you could be the intermediary. And also, I did not realize I could give slides, so I didn't give my contact information.
Yeah.
But I will put it in the meetup. And
yeah. Or if you want to put it right in the chat too, that would be a good spot to put it.
Okay, perfect. Yes, I will. Okay.
Yeah, you still have some time. There's still one more minute. And if anyone has any other questions, please.
First of all, I want to say, Marion, very cool. I remember you from Discon. So yeah, yes. Awesome. Very cool. I do want to ask, do you envision this to be more of a static but interactive experience, or do you want this to be more, would this involve any kind of user-generated content or social?
Yes, I don't mean to interrupt you, but yes, that's the idea that once someone sees this, the reaction or starts reading it, I know what's going to happen because this love story actually mirrors many love stories. And it's a specific quality of two people meeting, which I don't want to use that term right now because it's become a very pejorative term in a lot of people's minds. But just think of it as a very unique, so unique you really don't replicate it again, kind of connection with a person where you explore many dimensions, not just this one. But you got to start with this one. And that's where most of our dysfunction is displayed. So my idea is that, yeah, it's my story, but there's so many other stories and people should be able to write off of that. See what I'm saying? Okay.
Very cool. Very cool. Thanks.
Okay,
all right.
Thank you.
That was, you still have if there's any more questions, you could still take one, but because that was just your full 10 minutes. So if anyone has another question, please feel free, or otherwise we'll move on to Jake. All right, take it away, Jake.
Cool. Let me share my screen here. 1 second. Can everybody see this native page?
Yes, I can see it. Looks great.
Awesome. So my name is Jake Vartanian. I am the founder of Native. At a high level, Native is a platform for deploying community-based DAOs. How do we define communities? Basically, anybody who has a Facebook page today could eventually create a community DAO on Native. I think a lot of the tools that we have today to form groups, things like Facebook groups are kind of the most prime example. A lot of limitations in terms of what you can actually do. Liking a page, commenting every once in a while is a good first step to getting people together. But what happens when you want to actually execute something more meaningful that actually does require capital, moving money around, and making collective decisions together? Native is kind of I would say one of the first efforts at really making a wide audience. I'm sorry, it looks like I just got muted there for a second. So without going too much deeper into just the the overview part, I'll actually just dive right into the staging version of our site here, and basically walk through it and just kind of talk through where we're at now, some of the pieces we're working on, and I think just doing it interactively kind of provides the best sort of experience. So right now we are just at stage.nativeproject.1, which is our test net. We'll click here. You can see actually here, like the list of communities that are active right now. A lot of this text isn't fully kind of fleshed out because it's just on staging, but you can see the different organizations and how much it costs in their tokens to join. So now let's say I want to get started here, and I'm actually already logged in to Rinkeby on my MetaMask here. And right now I have some testnet ETH, and the first step to joining any community on Native is to convert ETH into native tokens. And I'll do it. But I'm not going to wait to go through a lot of the stuff just because time constraints. But basically, sign a transaction for the amount that you want, and I'll up the gas a little bit here, confirm that. And then while we're waiting, I'll show you kind of the dashboard. So right now you can see, oh, actually that was super fast. Now you can see we have more native tokens in our wallet. So in the case of like joining community, this account is a community organizer's account that has access to all the kind of backends. Usually when you want to join a community, you take your native tokens, you convert them into the token that you want to join. I'm sorry, the token that we already into the token that you want to receive, and you will be able to purchase more of those tokens. Hope this one. And so once you're a member of the community, for example, in this community, Dolo, we are a member, we can go into the organization and we can see the active votes, tasks, and projects. Dolo does not, in the testnet, does not have any right now. So let me go to, one second. I'll actually show the back end really quick first. So this is like from an organizer perspective. So if you've started a community on Native, you have this back end where you can kind of change a lot of the data and information on the community itself. If you want to add membership benefits that people receive for joining your community, social links, link to a Telegram channel, or eventually other chat room, you can do all that right here. You have the ability to create new votes that all of your members will be able to vote on. Polls or votes are just generally like sentiment kind of things, don't have anything related to do to finances. Tasks like bounties, where you can create a task that's something like, post on social media 2 times, you'll receive this many native tokens for doing so, and then get a sense of the status. Now, Native is unique in that the community organizer is actually also the approver and denier of the bounty or task at first, just because it's a much easier way to have a lot of these processes seamless when a lot of this tech is still in a very kind of nascent stage. And then we have projects, which are kind of like internal Kickstarters for communities. And you would create a project when you have, say, enough members in your community want to do something, and it requires a amount of capital to be taken from the community fund to execute that project. So this is kind of that's sort of the back end version. And let me go now to, let's see here. I can go into Earth Guardians. So this is what it looks like from the user perspective when you actually are a member of the community. And this is just to kind of test information, where you can see you have all the different votes that are active. You have all the different tasks where if it hasn't been claimed yet, the member can come in, just for right now, write down their email, claim the task, and once it's claimed, that means that you have a certain amount of time to complete it. And once you do, they send the work in, it gets approved, you'll get the tokens for doing so. And then active projects, you can see here we have like a test project, how much it's going to cost, when it'll be completed, where the money's going to go if it's approved, and then you have the option to either approve or deny that request. Now, the vote has to get a certain level of support and reach a certain quorum for that money to actually end up going to the proper account. So I think that's a good kind of just like general overview of the platform itself. It looks like I have about 3 minutes left here. So what I'm going to do is just kind of stop sharing and come back to just talking about it a little bit more. So over the right now we're in a very like alpha period, working with just a few select test communities. But our goal over over this year is one, to make our tools for deploying your own community DAOs a lot more simple. Right now the process is very manual, and what we also want to do is provide community templates. So when you start a community, you're not just kind of like, okay, it's all up to you in terms of how you're going to do this. But if you're doing like a music festival, for example, then we're already working with a music festival, so we'll be able to provide that second person a frame on, okay, here's sort of the structure for a token that we think makes sense. Here's a series of projects and tasks that you can do to increase the number of members in your community. Here's how you can spread awareness of the music festival using your community members, etc. And then I'll say one of the kind of most unique aspects of the native ecosystem as a whole to me is that all of the communities on the native network leverage native token as their base currency. And what this does is creates an anti-rivalrous network where the communities on the network are incentivized to collaborate rather than compete. In the way the economic model works is, as a new member joins one community, that means that they're purchasing new native tokens, which is making the value of the native tokens that's being held in all of the other communities go up. So I think native is one of the first sort of economic models that is specifically designed to make it so when a rising tide lifts all ships, I think is the simplest sort of way to put it. Yeah, I would say, just to kind of end on that, and then I'll open up for questions, is, basically, we're creating the financial ecosystem for a collaborative world. Next sort of evolution in terms of how people can come together and do things that they want to do without needing to be in a local location and agree that everything is happening in the way that everybody wants it to be happening. I think that sort of is the beauty of DAOs and decentralization as a whole.
Excellent. Thank you, Jake. That's great to hear. I'm so happy to be able to hear more details on native. I was able to hear it a little bit. It was great to hear more. But I've asked enough questions, so if anyone else has questions, please jump in.
I was going to say, how much left of the proof of concept you got going right now? How long till you guys are going to get to release?
So there actually is a live version of the application with a few test communities on there right now. Our first couple months of testing really led to some conclusion. I'm happy to share a report about this that we wrote up. Some of the conclusions were there's a lot of friction in terms of onboarding new members into communities right now that we're really working to make a lot more seamless. The types of organizations that we want to onboard, we have to really get a lot more specific in our verticals. While the goal is ultimately many verticals, right now focusing on the tech-oriented people who have a kind of blockchain mindset already is kind of where we need to take a first step. End user adoption in case of DAOs is a little far away. And the last thing I'll say is getting people to understand why it's good to join a community in this way, and why community tokens are necessary is to me, it's something that makes so much sense. And after I have a lot of time to explain to people, it makes sense too. But getting them to understand quickly and comprehensively is a huge challenge for us that we're really trying to work through here over these next couple months.
Cool. So I might have a question, actually. So Jake, you brought up a really good point as to the rising tide of native really impacts and increases this base currency of all the communities, correct?
Correct.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Yes.
Sorry, Jake, were you able to hear that question?
Yes.
Okay, so my question being that, what about a stinker community, something that's bad, that happens to be benefiting off of all the rest of the communities on the system doing well? Have you thought about how people in other communities could identify and potentially try and pull them off the network somehow, or is that a mechanism that's beyond the scope of what you're after?
You know, I can't say that I have a comprehensive answer for this right now. A lot of the things that I'll say I'll put it this way. One of the kind of cool things about the system is, you know, you say a stinker or a bad community. Well, what does that actually mean? If
Right.
they're putting money into the ecosystem, meaning purchasing native tokens, that means that they're at least something's happening. You know, something is incentivizing people to put money into this ecosystem, and they are generating their own sort of local currency, which is accruing value. Now, maybe they're not doing anything with that value, and it's just kind of sitting there, or what they're doing is, the value is just sitting there. Well, in that case, it doesn't really have a detrimental effect on the native ecosystem because they did acquire those tokens. Now, if they do something that totally makes them like bomb and the community goes bankrupt or something, it's cool because there's a buffer between the community's asset and the native ecosystem. So let's say the community's asset goes almost zero. Whatever native tokens are left can still be converted into other communities, or just stay in the ecosystem by holding those native tokens. So in terms of like siphoning value away from other communities, I haven't come across a path of which you could really do that super effectively yet. Now, of course, I'm sure there will be some as we progress here and add more communities, and we'll just have to kind of figure out how that works over time and adapt as quickly as possible.
Interesting, yeah. Just seeing a mechanism of like cross community governance as you evolve, that might be something to investigate.
Would love to talk to you about it, Dan.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jake. That was the timer. We got to move on. Guess what? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will make sure that people can get in contact with you. Great project. Thank you. Okay, next up is me. So I'm going to share my screen. And so let's get these out of the way. So what is this about? It's an idea that came about, I think, in December, and I was thinking about a way to get some experience working with React Native. I was really liking the idea of being able to write JavaScript code and get an app on an Android and an iOS phone out of JavaScript. So I was like, yeah, let me try it. So this is basically my first like step into that direction. I'm a developer, but we'll say web developer, lots of different things. Anyway, so the app is called Community Mojo, and it started in December. I want to get some React Native experience, and it's based on this app called Class Dojo, which is a community building app. But this is based on like for classrooms. So imagine a kid goes in the classroom and they get an iPad, and then they get like this little social media thing where they get kind of like these badges. So I'm thinking about like what you just talked about, Jake, and I'm like, yeah, this has got to be like super simple, like just a number. That's all we don't want to have any cryptocurrency, any keys, anything. Like it's got to be like so babyish like that. So that's what I was trying to aim with this kind of idea. So it's basically a social network. So I started to basically make a subset of it, and I worked with this thing called Figma, which I got from Dave Craig. If you know him, he's in Colorado. It was a great tool. It's web-based, but there also is a desktop version, so it's easy to share. It has prototyping, which is what all these little lines are that like shows like you can basically run it on a screen. It runs like a real app. So it's a great way to show what an app might look like. It was a fun tool to get to work with. So you can see I always like drawing. So this is what I did on Christmas Day. I think I drew all these icons for it. Just basically, Class Dojo has monsters, so I figured we would do aliens. So, and we're going to have real coins in ours. So here's some more icons that I worked on. And so it's going to be an app, and we need a database behind it because we need this like shared basically leaderboard of like what we shared with each other. So the database I picked was Firebase. It's a NoSQL database by Google. It's made to work with mobile apps, and it's price is right. It's almost free, but this was the hard thing that I had to struggle. One of the hardest things I struggled with, because I'm used to relational databases, and this is about like denormalization, which means you can copy your data everywhere, and it gets kind of like a mess. But anyway, I'm going with it because it's scalable and it's a new thing. So just to give you, it's not like this. This is a relational database where you have tables like basically Excel spreadsheets, and then you have these joins everywhere, and your data only lives in the place once. And that's like what we've been told our whole lives, or at least me. But this is different. It's more like a tree, and it's okay to repeat data within your structure. You get it where you need it to be. Forget joins. Don't worry about repeating data. You build your database from when you're building your screens of your app, and then your database comes from that. You don't do it the other way. And also there's these idea of cloud functions, which are like store procedures, where you can keep these denormalized or repeated data in line. It kind of works, but they don't fire that. You can basically determine like, okay, my user got hit, and I can like send out these updates to all these other branches of the tree, but it's not instant. So if it's like you're looking for an instant update, it happens like within 10 or 15 seconds later. So you can't always use that. Anyway, forget joins. And so I was just trying to go with these ideas, but that hooked me up a lot. And I want to say thanks to Tommy, because he's on the call right now, and he talked with me for at least 2 iterations of trying to get my head around how to deal with this kind of data and trying to change my ideas. So React Native is this thing that I wanted to try. Like, okay, we write this thing. It works pretty good. It's better than I worked with another one. I think it was called PhoneGap a while ago. That was terrible. This actually, you get an APK out at the end, and you get the iPhone equivalent. I forgot what it's called. You can debug it really well. You can connect your Chrome browser debugger to it and step through code while it's running on your phone. I developed pretty much directly on my phone because it seemed faster. One caveat is you will need a Mac if you want to get the iOS code out. And there's fees to post. $100 for an iOS app, $25 for a real Google Play app. That used to not be that way when I did it before. So coding in React Native is just a bit like me, just a bull in a china shop. I just wrote where I needed to be. I found another application that did the authentication, and I just went from there. There's the GitHub to it. It's totally hacked up. There's repeat. I would not stand by this code, but it's what it's out there. This is the bloodiest thing, just the quickest thing I could make. And where are we at? Okay, so demo video. You can if you have Android, you can get this APK out there, and you can put it on your phone. And remember, if you want to download, I will put the iOS one out once I get it to compile, but I haven't been working in that direction. And I don't even know if it's possible to not put an iOS app out without putting it in the store. Anyway, here's a video of how it works basically. And this is a 1-minute video, so you can see it. Can you see this video? So basically, you can be an organizer of a meetup, and you can create an organizer, or you can pick an organizer, or you basically log in and pick an organization as an organizer. So I sped that up. So I'm an organizer of, I don't know what's going on my YouTube. Oh, I did all that to make a YouTube video, and then it jams. The heck? Oh, there we go. Okay, so here I am creating a meetup as an organizer, and in my meetup I have one guy, Jack Berry, and I'm just going to reward him for something he did. Basically, super simple. He cleans something up. He gets 1 coin. Thank you very much. It goes on his record. And then you go back to the list of Decentralized Colorado. Now we have a leaderboard of people. This other phone is the member user. And basically, he joins in by pressing a code in to join the group. He's going to join Decentralized Colorado. and he can either pick the person that he is, or he can put his name in, which I'll do fast here. So now Decentralize has 2 people in it. And then back over here as an organizer, I'm going to reward this new user, Bill Carter, with one more point for attending the meetup. You can't see this video very well, but anyway. There's a lagging problem here because it's not refreshing on the member, but it does update. Anyway, that's the, what do I have next? I think I got one more slide. So here's me. This is my contact info. And if you want to get the app, there it is right there, the code. If you want to join into Decentralize, that's use code Lucky1 and you'll be added. And if I see you good in there, I'll give you one coin for joining the meetup. It's not cryptocurrency, but it's super simple, and I think it could have cryptocurrency underneath it maybe, but I don't know. Open up to questions.
Is this going to be something that you hope is available for the broader Colorado blockchain community, so each meetup can kind of have their own group on here? So are we looking to essentially replace meetup.com?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, you can't. I made it so that you could have your own meetup there, and you would be the organizer. So as an organizer, you can make a meetup. So you could make a Neo meetup or whatever, and have your own group there.
I think there's a lot of value in finding a solution for the meetup application.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure there are better apps that I mean, this was just totally like, let's make a drop dead simple app and see if we could do it.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's better apps that do this. Thanks.
Yeah, it looks like it would be able to engage people really easily. It'd be nice to figure out a way to be able to get folks who come to meetups who've never downloaded the Mojo app before, to make it really simple for them to get downloaded and then connected to the meetup that they're at.
Yeah. Yeah. I was, like I said, I was just aiming at something really, really simple, but I mean, I don't know. This is not an original idea, but I think the idea of a leaderboard is what I wanted to get out. Was like, if you want to see who's really hustling in the community and does a lot, like here's a number that says so. Mm-hmm. And I think if we could all share that number and see it, we could all have a better idea of like what people are doing. Because a lot of people do a lot of work, and they should get credit in some way. If we can't pay them in some way yet, we should at least like give them the ability to get recognized. And that's what I thought. I don't know, maybe we should have members be able to give these points out, or maybe we'd have like a pool of money for each meetup and it would be $500, and then I don't know. It could go a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I remember you talking about this in December, so it's awesome to see this turn around in less than a quarter. So yeah. So way to go on hustling on the side on this, I'm sure. But yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of room for some sort of community funding pool, particularly because we have so many different various groups with various interests that it might be beneficial and get everybody kind of with a little bit of skin in the game for all the different events that happen in Colorado blockchain. Especially here, because we have such a good ecosystem and there's so many good projects here and so many famous people. Yeah. And it seems like it's just the right spot for something to like sprout. So I think it will. It might be native, hopefully.
I was going to say, you could probably take some of the tokens from the meetups and stuff, and you could just create different events inside the meetup where, you take your 500 tokens or whatever that you get, you go to different people, spend them, do whatever you got to do there. Because, I'm pretty sure ETH did that one of the meetups recently, right? Like ETH Denver or something. I don't know which one it was, but they had like tokens being distributed. There's got to be somebody thinking about a cryptoifying meetup. There's got to be somebody like working on that. So anyway, my time is up. So. Well, we should talk about this at some other forum, because this is an interesting conversation that a lot of directions it can go in. Yep, I like it too. All right, so I wasn't paying exact attention. Who's next?
Let me see. I got this.
It's going to be me.
All right, take it away, Trevor.
I'm incredibly nervous. I haven't done a presentation in a minute, probably since forever. Give me a second. One of these screens is the right screen. There we go. All right, so you guys can see this, hopefully.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, looks good.
So I'm talking about reputation tokenization for video games with EOS. So we're giving value to great experiences. So the premise is, well, I'm going to go with an intro first. So my name is Trevor Wessel. I'm a developer. I moved to Colorado literally last month. So I'm from California, and I'm tired of the heat. So I work for Ultra.io as a blockchain developer for utilizing EOS. So I have a little bit over 3 years of programming experience, and I'm basically self-taught. I dropped out of college because I didn't like the pacing. I was like, So I discovered blockchain technology, got fascinated by it, and now I have a career in it. So yeah, and I've done like numerous things like modding, Photoshop, web design, programming, all over the place. I've done a lot of different things. But in that regard, so what's the problem? So video games like to attract a lot of trolls. So trolls can either make a game very interesting or completely unbearable. So a single bad actor in a game can ruin it for everyone. So how do we know if someone can rely on someone else's reputation online? So a bad actor can kind of be defined as, the guy who destroyed your fort in Minecraft, or the other guy screaming over text chat because you didn't go mid. So here's a little League of Legends map. You're down there in the bottom right. He's telling you to go mid. You're not going mid. So now they're blaming you, and you're getting a ton of, flack for it. So how do we solve this? Well, blockchain, maybe. So here's a little Dilbert comic. I think we should build a blockchain. Uh-oh. Does he understand what he said, or is it something that he saw in a trade magazine ad? What color do you want your blockchain? So the basic concept that I've come up with is we're going to create a blockchain wrapper for games that lets you reward other players in-game for their good behaviors and genuine interactions. So once awarded, these tokens become staked. So they're basically put into this escrow that you can claim later. Players can pool tokens together to play games, complete quests, and do other game-related things. So these tokens are thrown into escrow until a quest, game round, or other games related to game things are completed. So once completed, the tokens are mostly given back to the players, but a small portion of the tokens reach a, I can't see because of the, I can move the camera, what do you know? Okay, so a small portion of the tokens reach a stake status. These staked tokens represent your reputation. So staked tokens can be unstaked at any time at the cost of your reputation. The unstaked version of the token will act as a way to pay for microtransactions, additional game rounds, etc. So there's two versions of the token. There's a staked version, and then there's an unstaked version. So the staked version can't be moved. It just acts as your reputation. And then the unstaked version is the one that you can trade with other people for microtransactions and different things inside of games. And then so the first reward period, which is these tokens would be free at a fixed rate every day over the course of several years. So instead of doing an initial ICO or whatever we need, it would basically be just 5 tokens are distributed per day for 5 years for free. You can claim them at any time you want, and it's up for grabs for anybody. So it's completely out of my control. It's up to whoever wants to actually claim them. So players would reward their friends, family, or potentially strangers who generally act well. But each time a token is given to another player, it becomes staked. So a staked token will act as the reputation for the player, and then players who give tokens receive a small cut of the token distributed, working in both parties' favor. So an example would be you distribute a token, and one token, and you would get 0.2 because you're helping build the community as you go. Okay. So if there's a hard cap built on this of 20 million or something along those lines, eventually it just stops, and all the tokens are distributed depending on if community members were putting in the effort to get those tokens out there. So smart contracts can handle most of this, no problem. And then at the end of the staking period, or when the hard cap is reached, those are the only tokens in circulation. So that's it. So after the token becomes staked, it can immediately become unstaked and act as a tradable asset. So meaning you can use it to purchase in-game items and everything else. And then Basically, the key feature here is only allow unstaking, but don't allow staking. So it gets, okay, so then the second part of the staking, this is the part where the hard cap is reached. So what happens is if you and a group of other players get together and you want to complete a quest, you all place a few tokens in this pool. And then this will represent your seriousness and your commitment to this game. So let's say that you kind of think of it like poker. So if you stake 500 tokens for this hand, everybody else is going to have to stake 500 tokens with you or whatever they can afford. And so everyone else has to kind of like, you know, put their money where their mouth is if they want to, you know, play along in the serious aspect. So this could kind of work for more of a competitive scene as well. So once the game, quest, or whatever else is completed, the tokens become unlocked. But when you reclaim those tokens, a small portion of those tokens go to your staked reputation. So if you did 500, like 10 of those at the end of the day would go to your reputation for completing it. So that's how you would get your tokens staked after the hard cap or the first staking period. So then if the value is not met for a certain period of time, then only half the tokens are reclaimed and then go to the staked reputation. So the leftover tokens end up going to a pool for new users to claim. So new users are never left out of this system. There's always a way for them to get tokens to get started. And then let's see. So then you can also do things like trading items and whatnot as well. So, you know, that can also act as a way to gain reputation by providing a solid trading foundation in a game. So how can we adopt it? These reputation tokens will allow you to sell some of your progression to easily switch servers, appearances, and other things. So it unlocks a lot of potential for being a better player and providing the best experience you can provide. So participation is key to this actually working. So I have a plan. Hightail. This is a game that's coming out pretty soon. I'm not exactly sure when, but it'll come out pretty soon. So Hightail is a game that is going to be a successor to Minecraft. So basically, a bunch of Minecraft server owners got together, said Minecraft sucks, and we're going to make a better one. So that's what they're doing, and they're adding better scripting support and various other things. So I've put together a smart contract with these design parameters that will wrap around Hightail. So myself and a friend named Dawson will be implementing a few server plugins for the game when it comes out. So we will leverage this plugin to create a dynamic but decentralized economy that runs on top of the EOS blockchain. So will it work? We don't know, but we have given our design a lot of thought, and our two-man group is called Hightail Digital. So exciting times ahead. And thus, Hightail Digital is born. And there's some social links, and I post videos on YouTube and all sorts of stuff. So yeah. So any questions?
Excellent. I have some questions, but I bet other people do too. Please jump in. Tell us about the game. I like that. Go back to that graphic. I want to see some pictures of the game.
Oh, I don't have any pictures of the game, but the
is it like Blockmen, like Minecraft, or like more like smooth or better?
It's got a higher pixel size, I guess, but you know, like 64 by 64 instead of like the 32. It's higher resolution, but it's still blocky and everything. But it's the game itself is written by a completely different company. I mean, it's Hypixel is the one that's making it. We just took the name, threw digital on the back because that was an available domain name. I was like, sure, why not? Let's just leverage their name so we can, you know, get some interest in this in the name itself. But the reason why EOS is transactions per second. It's very fast. It takes $2 to make an account, and you basically have generally almost unlimited transactions. And for what we need, you're not going to be doing a lot of transactions when you're playing, so it kind of makes sense in my opinion. So it has enough throughput to handle what we need, and the cost of getting the smart contract on there is a little under, if I'm not mistaken, about $100. So that's not too bad considering.
Could this be used as like conceivably like if you did construction of like some sort of like castle in this world, you could get paid in cryptocurrency to do that?
Yeah, so, I mean, basically what you could do is hire out people to build specific things for you. So you can make quests for them and be like, hey, I'm going to give you 30, and if you finish this quest for me, I will give you these 30 tokens. You know, if you happen to go build a wall or whatever you want.
It seems like the game Crypto Connection is so natural. Have you listened to Brock Pierce very much? Because he talks about that a lot.
I don't actually listen to him at all. So, but yeah. Is Dylan? I think yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to. There we go. Jeez, there was a huge.
I don't know who. I'm staying off the mute button now. You guys do what you want. I'm leaving unless you really start coughing. I'm not going to mute you. So
self-mute. There was a huge game conference in Tokyo this weekend surrounding building games on the Neo blockchain. So yeah, it seems like games are just starting to pop off on all these public blockchains right now.
It's only natural. It's seriously only natural. Like the things that I wish I could say but I can't say right now sucks.
Yeah.
So, but there's a lot going on everywhere that a lot of people aren't even aware of right now, and it's just interesting in that regard.
Hunter, what did you mean by voxel in the chat? I don't know what that means. Is that another game thing?
It's kind of like blockiness.
Yeah, it's a volumetric pixel, so it's what Minecraft uses as its data structure, sort of.
I got you. Cool.
So,
anybody else?
Yeah.
Anyone else out there? Well, keeping it up with the EOS theme, we have Brandon. Are you out there, Brandon? It's like he's not out there, maybe. I guess we didn't get him. Dylan, are you ready?
I am. Can you guys hear me?
I don't see Brandon in the chat, so yeah, unless he comes on, you're up. Good
cool.
All right.
So it's nice to see EOS and Neo being talked about right now. Usually I feel like I'm hearing about Bitcoin and Ethereum. So nice.
It's an Ethereum town, my man.
Yes. Okay, let me get my screen up real quick. All right. Can you guys see my screen? Cool, perfect. Let's get this up. Awesome. Okay, cool. My name's Dylan. I'm going to start off with the caveat that I'm not a developer. I'm a former urban planner. So I'm really just taking the role of showing the tools that are available for developers to onboard into the Neo ecosystem. So first, I want to thank Will for putting this awesome community together and for doing this almost every month for the past year. It's been awesome. I got to participate in December. It was really awesome too. To talk about Neo. And I'd also like to thank the team. So I write for Neo News Today. I've been covering the system since January of 2018. I went full-time in November of 2018. And around the same time, I started hosting Neo Colorado meetups. So we really focus on educating the general public about what's going on with Neo. And we're also going to start taking a shift into hosting developer-oriented events as well. So just something that differentiates the Neo blockchain from others is once a block has been approved with Neo, it has 100% finality, which isn't something that you can see with a lot of proof of work or proof of stake chains, as they use the longest chain following 50 or 60 or however many block approvals. So Neo has really begun to hammer its focus on building its developer communities. Currently, there are a handful that you can see with City of Zion and New Econolabs and all these guys, but the actual blockchain has been investing in building frameworks and libraries as well. In February of this year, Neo Global Development opened its second office in the States here, so that in Seattle. So they're really trying to bring in some new developers to start building frameworks and libraries so people don't have to start building their projects from scratch. And at DevCon, Da Hong Fei said that he wants Neo to be the #1 blockchain by 2020, and that's not with regards to CoinMarketCap, but making Neo the easiest platform to develop on. So 95% of the languages can be used for building in the Neo blockchain ecosystem, and the majority of the support that's out there right now on GitHubs and resources that have been made available are for the Python, JavaScript, and C# languages. Very recently, the Neo consensus node software was updated to 2.10, which has some updates to the consensus mechanism, which focuses on adding a new commit phase and new recoveries. And then some of the mempool issues that were sorted, basically as the mempool was getting bigger, the worse the node performance became. So some of these changes are going to allow a full mempool to not have a negligible performance on the consensus nodes. Then there's also a developer's guide that NEO has actually put out. It offers details on the NEO source code. It describes the design of the NEO consensus network nodes, and is continuously being updated. So it's a live document, which not only means that more information will be put in, but also individuals who are building on the core code will also be able to contribute to updating that information. And so here's just a quick little example of what the developer's guide looks like. And the column on the left has tons of scrollable information. One of the community groups in the NEO ecosystem, these guys called O3 Labs, they're based out of Tokyo. They develop APIs that allow projects to connect to the NEO blockchain, and they're also proposing a general NEO DAPI widespread consensus for the ecosystem. And so here's a perfect example. One of my teammates, he runs a website called neoeconomy.io. He created the Neo Economy store where you can purchase merchandise directly from the website. And if you have the O3 Labs wallet installed on your desktop, you'll be able directly from the website to just select what you want to pay for. You go directly to the wallet that you're logged into, that you have your information. You select it, and you can go and purchase what you want from the store. Another group out there, Neo Research, put out a compiler online that is completely based on the web. You don't need to download anything or set up any local environments, and it supports C#, Java, Python, and Golang. And here's a quick example of what it actually looks like, the compiler on the website. So again, it's no downloading, very easy to begin using. We're lucky that Neo1 is a states-based group that is going out, making it easy, again, without users having to download anything, so that they can begin learning how to use TypeScript for some of the projects that they want to build. We also have one of these developers here in the States, here in Colorado. So Neo Colorado is actually looking forward to working with Neo1 to kind of give a live example, and maybe even a tutorial or a workshop here in Denver or in the Colorado area to kind of engage developers a little bit and show them what's going on with this awesome, easy, simple onboarding website. Then there's Neo Ray, which was just recently released. New Economy Labs is based out of China, and they created, again, a web-oriented website that allows you to compile, deploy, do invocations, and debug smart contracts. Again, it's all web-based, so users don't need to download anything, and this is what that platform looks like. In addition to all the web-based platforms, City of Zion is one of the first developer groups that came into the Neo ecosystem in Q3 of 2017. So they have a wide variety of tools, namely Neo Local, which allows developers to quickly fire up a personal Neo blockchain to run tests on. And this is a tool that's used in workshops and in events. And then in addition to Neo Local, the City of Zion team has created a light wallet, tons of internal documentation, a Python node and SDK for the Neo blockchain, and then all sorts of other various tools on their GitHub for C++, JavaScript, Python, and Golang languages, in addition to tools and NeoLink, which is a Chrome extension. And then the sort of newest community-funded group is Axe Labs, who is creating software called Neo3j, which is a Java and Android library. And this allows developers to add Neo3j dependencies using Gradle or Maven. And so these guys just started building out their libraries, so we're going to start seeing a little bit more GitHub activity and proposals being approved at the end of Q1. And then lastly, this is some photos from the developer workshop that took place at the Neo DevCon in Seattle the same weekend as ETH Denver. So it was a bummer I didn't get to go to ETH Denver, but we have Tyler here, who is also based out of Colorado, and he's going to be joining the Neo Colorado meetup on March 27th. So anybody who's interested in speaking to someone who helped design the Net5 token standard, which is similar to the ERC20 token standard, should feel free to come to this event and come meet Tyler, because he's hosted a lot of these awesome workshops, and he's been in the Neo ecosystem for quite some time. And so these are some of the modules that are offered in the developer workshop that pertain to introducing the developer to the Neo ecosystem, and then basics with setting up the environment and smart contracts. And so if you're interested in seeing what some ICO templates look like in Python or C#, or just what a smart contract in C# looks like for the Neo ecosystem, here are some great examples. And if you want to find more examples of other languages, just feel free to reach out to me at dylan@neonewstoday.com or on Twitter. I can be reached pretty easily at both of them. And join the Neo Colorado meetup. We're hosting informational meetups at least once a month. We're looking to start engaging the developer community a little bit more. And I think there are going to be some resources that are going to be made available soon to really start supporting that idea. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you, Dylan. Great presentation.
Thanks. Oh, something about on-chain.
Yeah, there's a couple. I mean, I don't know how serious the questions are in the chat, but you can.
Okay, I'll go through them real quick. Yeah, so I think City of Zion was a Matrix reference. You'll actually see a lot of community projects that kind of riff on that a little bit. There was a wallet that's now defunct because of 2018 bear market, but it was called Morpheus Wallet.
Huh.
Yeah. So I don't think all of Neo is an intentional Matrix reference, but I think there certainly is a lot that's there, and people find humor in that and actually build on that and naming. Yeah, it's nice to have a sense of humor with some of the people who create their projects.
I think the Matrix is totally awesome, so I like it.
Yeah, and so Tyler,
tell us about Tyler. You mentioned him. Who is Tyler?
Yeah, so Tyler's a co-founder of City of Zion, which is one of the original developer groups in Neo, and he was actually part of the group that designed the Net5 token standard, which is the Neo version of the ERC20 token standard for Ethereum. So we have access to this really great developer who has been in the Neo ecosystem for quite some time now, and we're going to be having him join us for a meetup on the 27th at Enterprise in Denver. So if you're going to be around, please come and join. It should be a great discussion, and if not, we'll live stream it as well.
Sweet. Sounds cool.
Yeah.
What's his last name? Tyler who?
Tyler Adams. He's in the Colorado blockchain Slack as well.
Okay, cool. All right, I'll connect with him. That's awesome.
And then Jason asked if there are any development grants out there, foundation to encourage building. There are, so City of Zion actually rewards open source developers who work on polls and requests. So you can today start getting paid for open source development. There are some other community groups that have funding for some of the work that you're going to do as well. I don't quite know if we're there yet, but Neo Colorado is looking into sort of somehow creating some sort of advisorship or funding role with a potential community fund that might be opening up here soon, which is why I've really been putting in the groundwork, going to talk to universities and co-working facilities around the area just to kind of see what that looks like and what potential future development events might look like, and if projects come out of that may or may not want to move forward or get funding. I don't know, but there is potential for funding to develop your project. I'm still trying to figure out what that looks like for us here in Colorado.
Interesting. That sounds good.
Yeah, so March 27th is the next meetup.
You said you were the next meetup in for the Neo Denver one is what? When is it?
Yeah, Neo, Colorado, March 27th, which is a Wednesday. It's going to be from 6:30 to 8. And again, we'll have a pretty hardcore Neo community developer guest speaking. So it should
is that an enterprise?
Yes, it's at Enterprise, and we're going to be on the first floor, not downstairs. Cool. So look for us in a classroom.
All right, cool. All right, is that actually it? I think that was it because we didn't have all the speakers. But I did say if you have announcements, let's get that out. I would like if anybody's out there who wants to announce something or say something or just get your voice out there. Please speak up now and let us know what's on your mind or what you want to promote.
If anybody wants to talk about Freeweb, by the way, just hit me up. On Twitter,
awesome.
Good.
I will check out your GitHub.
Oh, thank you.
So we're going to be having a call on Friday night talking about building out the Colorado Community Resources website. And so if you're interested in that, jump on Colorado Slack or on Discord. We have a group for development on that. I'd love some more input. I know that we're going to have Tom there at least. Along with a few other people, which is pretty exciting. I think integrations to a lot of the things we talked about tonight would be something I'd like to get as soon as we have an MVP ready.
Awesome.
We have a native community gathering on Thursday. It looks like Tommy just put a link in the chat. And if not, you can just go to meetup.com/socials and you'll be able to find the link there.
Awesome.
And I guess if you're a developer and someone was saying, here's this new ecosystem and this new platform that you've never thought about building on, I'd be interested to hear what what would kind of excite you or interest you in attending a meetup or a workshop event that was a couple hours to learn how to build on that. So you don't have to necessarily tell me now, but I'd really love to hear from developers who, are learning lots of different programming languages in the blockchain space. I'd really love what motivates you to want to learn about a new project and what motivates you to want to go to an event, for a couple hours on a weeknight.
Yeah, I think I would just to give a little bit of feedback is what you're saying is hitting that right on, because as a developer, you have to learn a lot of skills just to be a developer. And then you have to, if you want to do a crypto developer, you have to pick one, which is this very unstable, which one do I pick? Not only am I picking what languages that I'm fluent at, but I also have to pick which one of these coins is going to be viable. So yeah, it seems, I would love to hear how you can make Neo sound like a really viable option. Mm-hmm. That would be cool to figure out how to do.
I think one thing that was really successful at the last event that we had, I think last week for developing, was concepts and the development process is really what's lacking so much. So not so much how do you develop on top of Neo, as much as how do you develop on top of a blockchain in general? And it just so happens Neo is the platform we're learning to use it on. So something that's unique that only Neo does that's really cool. Identifying that, you're going to get those kind of people who want that and also are interested in crypto.
Yeah, differentiation is a key. If you can make it be different in some way, if you go and work over here, it's going to be this perfect honeypot. That's where how you can get developers, but I don't know what it is though.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to hear because it's when you're developing, it's the language you chose and it's not all about money. So you can't just throw money at an issue, but I also want to just offer the information that's out there already. And so just, what would lure you as a developer to a Neo event? Is it, are we going to try and hack in this specific category, or is this going to be a 101? So I'm just interested to hear what any developer has to say.
I don't know if I would make differentiation too much on a developer. When you come off as when you explain yourself about why you're attracted to it, that attracts me. So I don't know. That's all. It's all good. If you send out good vibes, you'll get good vibes back.
Appreciate that.
I'll mention real quick. The next state council meeting is on Thursday from 2 to 4. Not that is intriguing to everyone, but something to have on the radar at least.
Who's talking? Who's that?
This is
yeah,
Taylor.
Taken. Great to hear from you. I see you now. Yeah. What? This is the Colorado Blockchain Council.
I've been selective because I've been on my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Are you talking about Colorado Blockchain meeting?
From 2 to
Is that
4.
what you're talking? I see.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
I've never been to one. Are they interesting or are they boring?
Both.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I bet a government
depends what you're there for, but
yeah, true.
Is there any particular issue that we should tune into on that call, or are they discussing something important on that call?
So there's at least 2 things that I'm definitely going to be bringing up and have gotten the okay to take some time for. One is a Go Code project. And if you're not aware of Go Code Colorado Blockchain Slack, there is a Go Code project channel that we're talking a little bit about this. So getting input from the council specifically on a public data source that we might want to use for this, because they can probably help us curate that data, publicly accessible data, into a manageable API that we can play with. So it's like a proof of concept. I really am hoping I can get some insight from them on how that looks like. And the other thing is what Taylor was bringing up is higher education is one of the working groups. And in particular, I'd like to get their input on a program that I'd like to develop with some of the people at HackCSU, which may or may not actually turn into an event later this spring. So keep your eyes out on that. But moving forward, a more general higher education track, like workshop and development, something along the lines of what happened at Middle Week, stretched out over the semester, integrated into the coursework or alongside it as a supplement. We want to talk with them about how they can help us structure that.
Yeah, and for those that don't know me as well, I mean, that's kind of the angle I'm attacking. So anything sort of education related or broader higher ed programming, feel free to shoot things my way. I'm crossing my fingers on a sort of national fellowship to potentially do some other just documentation and policy work at that level. So higher ed sort of work, feel free to shoot it my way.
So are we petitioning the council for funds or to get funds directed towards this initiative? Or I'm not quite understanding the connection there. Like, wouldn't the individual universities be able to determine what their curriculums and programming is?
Yeah, and this is early enough, so definitely not talking like direct funding at this point. And yeah, the most universities have something sort of, whether it's just a student group or actual, curriculum and programs developed, that's happening independently. But I think more it's just aligning conversations, and I'm hoping to help just do some of that at the national level down to what's happening here. So yeah, you're right. It's probably too early to really go down the road of talking funding, but we're working that direction.
I'm more interested in getting the idea in their head of how we could potentially structure something here. Because again, Colorado can be the template for so many things. This is just another one.
I like it.
Awesome. I think that's about it. Thank you very much, all the speakers. Thank you for everyone who came. I really appreciate it. If anyone else has anything else to say it now, or it's going to be over.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Will.
1 second.
All right.
All
right.
Just real quick.
Wait. Someone's got something. Hold on.
Yeah. This is Mark. I've been listening in. I appreciate all your time and energy. I was just wondering if there's any after hours spaces where we could develop together. Maybe not during the normal workday, but would anybody be interested in working after hours on weekends, possibly?
Yeah, I work on weekends all the time. Sure. I'm interested.
You guys stop working?
Work on what? What do you mean, Mark? What are you working on?
Well, I guess just the in-person collaboration and strategizing and planning and creating and all that. Like, I know some developers and user experience designers might be up to things during the day or may not have time, but if we had a space to go with Wi-Fi and
yeah,
whatever else is needed, maybe we could get like an hour or two in and work as a team almost.
I love face-to-face meetings.
I think that idea would be good to explore, like even on the decentralized Slack, like for the decentralized group, or just the general meeting. Usually you can ask people and various questions and coordinate like a time and a place to meet up.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to say that, but just the after-hour space, where do we have access, and like the meeting room or something like that.
So you can, for instance, Enterprise is one of many co-working spaces, but all of them offer a 24/7 access for members, along with tag-along guests. So I'm not volunteering myself necessarily, but other people who work at co-working spaces, or if you want to pursue a membership at one, that's definitely a great place. I've had a lot of success there. And they're like 24/7 coffee shops and stuff too, I think.
Yeah, coffee shop's a good idea.
If only I lived closer to Denver.
Oh, I see. Well, get on the where should we talk more about this? Get on the Slack, I guess, right? Go in this Decentralized Colorado Slack channel, and let's figure out what we're going to do, because it's a good idea.
So one thing we might want to do, so I think there was an allusion to not Denver. You're more north, right?
I'm actually south. I'm in Pueblo.
I might miss that. You're more north?
South in Pueblo.
South.
Oh,
Pueblo.
south.
Yeah.
Oh, Pueblo in the house. That's awesome.
Wow. Yeah.
Decentralized Colorado is working. That's what we wanted.
Yes.
All we need is Ari next. We have Fort Collins next. So
that's funny.
Just branching out wider and wider. Thank you.
So just to be clear, which Slack is that? Because I'm in Colorado Blockchain and Blockchain Devs United, but I'm not sure if there's another one.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to
point in Denver.
Slack. Should we point people to the Slack, Dan? I don't know. You did earlier though.
The Slack is great. I definitely think it's a good place to be, at least for now. I think eventually we should move off.
Which Slack is it?
It's Colorado Blockchain Hunter.
Okay, cool.
I know I talked to you, Hunter, on the Colorado. Well, I know you're on Discord, so I talked to you there. Yeah. All right. Anyone else out there got something to say? Good. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks for listening to all us yabber on tonight, guys.
Yeah, that's what we're here for. Peter, do you have anything to say? Are you out there? You usually have something to say. He's gone. Oh, well. All
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Have a good night, everyone.
See ya.
Thanks, Will.
See ya.